Over the last 2 years, we've seen builders do some really just shady things. In fact, put some consumers in really just a compromising situation. Jeremy Knight, the Knight Group, your favorite Austin realtor. Today, I want to go through and break down some of those things that we've seen, communicate those things to you so you know what to look out for as a consumer when you're purchasing a home. If you've bought a home in the last couple of years and you've seen this, or you're in the process of building a home, drop a comment below. I do want to hear from you. What have you seen? So on this channel, I've talked about quite a few things that I've seen from builders just raising prices last minute, taking forever to build, all of these things. But I want to bullet point some of the major things that I think you should be looking out for as a consumer. Number one, in the state of Texas, you have the right to representation. Now you're going to say, oh, here you go, a realtor telling me that you need a real estate agent to buy a home using new build. No, that's not what I'm saying. But you do have the right as a consumer to have somebody to represent you in the transaction to make sure these shady things don't happen or catch them when they do. One thing that I've seen builders really do is try to disincentivize consumers from using an agent. Again, you don't have to use an agent, but what I'm telling you is it's like going into trial on your own and being your own lawyer. It's probably not the best thing. You could do it, but it's not always the best thing. So ways that I see that they do this is that if you come in without a realtor just to look at a home, a lot of times I see this, we'll have buyers that say, hey, Jeremy, we're going to go look at these builders just to drive through these neighborhoods while we're getting our finances together or whatever. They'll go through and then the builder will say, since you came in without a realtor, we are not going to let you use a realtor during this transaction. Like I said, in the state of Texas, you do have the right to representation. I have a form that I have every buyer sign. So builders are kind of trying to get away from this because really they don't want anyone to represent you. They want you to think the builder is representing you and has your best interests at heart. The reality is these builder reps represent the builder, not you. Yes, they do want to take care of you because obviously they want your money and for you to close, right? So I've seen this. A lot of times what you'll see a sign on the front door. If you're coming in without a realtor for the first time, you're not allowed to use a realtor. Things like that. Or they'll say, hey, since your realtor's not here, your realtor really should have been here. You don't have to use a realtor. All of these things are kind of slimy because there's a lot of things which we'll break down even further are reasons why you probably should have somebody with you representing you. The other thing that I see them do all the time is try to convince you don't need a third-party inspection or other inspections. They do their own third-party inspections. They have these other people that come look. Here is why that is very, very, very dangerous. Lennar. Look at this website right here. Should you buy a Lennar built home? There is lawsuits against Lennar right now for faulty foundations and things like that here in the Austin area in Bradshaw Crossing. I have one article right here from KView talking about this. What happened? It's like 70-something homes in this neighborhood have had failed foundations. And the other website that I'll link below as well actually talks about somebody's journey using Lennar and all the issues they've had throughout the process. Now, some of these things could have been found with having a third-party inspection. Not all of them, but it is a very good idea to have a third-party inspection. And they will try to tell you, you don't need it. Go look at the Lennar complaints right here and you will see why it's really important, number one, to probably have a realtor. Number two, why you really, really should have a third-party inspection because you don't want to end up in litigation after the fact because they did something wrong. Now, here's a third thing that I see that builders do quite frequently, and that's when you get to close or right before closing, you're going to do a final walk. But there's a long list of things that just haven't been done. Now, here's what happens a lot of times with buyers is they've taken 14, 15, 16 months to build this home. You just want to close. You're on a timeline. Right now, you have interest rates going crazy, so people are trying to close as soon as they can, so interest rates don't go up any further, all of these things. And you get right before closing, and all of a sudden, they have a long list of things to do and they say, oh, we're just going to have the warranty company fix this. I closed a home actually personally with Village Builders that turned into Lennar, and the warranty process for me wasn't the best. I've had other people complain about the same exact issues. So if you're signing off a thing that, hey, all of these 10 items are going to get fixed after we close, be prepared that not all 10 of those things get actually fixed. And then when you do your 1 or 2 year warranty checks, some of those things won't get fixed either. I had a painter come in my house to fix because on the 1 year was cosmetic. Screamed at the home warranty guy, screamed at me that they weren't going to paint this stuff and left. It was a mess. So be careful right before closing. Make sure you get as much of the big ticket items fixed in the house, because if you move in, it's going to be a lot harder to get those things done. One of the other big things that I've really seen lately is builders do an escalation when they don't actually have an escalation clause inside the contract. So what builders have tried to do up until the last couple months, now that the market's shifting a little bit, they don't have the same ability. But what they would do is right before close, they would say, hey, you know what, we've had to adjust the price, and they'll raise the price 30, 40, 50 grand on you. And you're stuck pretty much having to accept that, because now prices have escalated so far that you can't really go buy that same house at that same price anymore. So that's one thing that I've seen builders do. I've talked about that a lot on this channel, so I don't want to go into super detail, but I have seen that. So be very careful right before you get to closing that they don't raise it on you. One other thing that's really interesting about builders is that they have relationships with lenders, they have relationships with title companies, warranty companies, and all of these things, and they really force you to try to use these. So one example would be them forcing you to use their lender. They're going to tie up a lot of incentives to you using their lender, their preferred lender. Now they have an agreement with them, and if you actually do the math, a lot of times you're not actually saving money by going with their lender, and even that. The other thing that they'll do is they'll say, okay, you are going to pay title policy, but if you as a consumer use our lender, then that'll go towards paying title policy, which is crazy. So title policy basically is an insurance policy on the home. A lot of times if you were to sell a home resale, you as a homeowner selling are going to have to pay the title policy for the buyer. It's pretty customary. But what a builder tries to do is push that off onto you as a consumer. So now that the market's getting a little bit softer, that's something I would absolutely try to negotiate that the builder pay for. But think about this. A title policy can be $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. It all goes on really the price of the home and the title policy. Basically, the title policy is just if somebody comes back and tries to say that the home is theirs, you have an insurance policy saying that no, the home is yours. So there's a lot more to it, but I'm trying to simplify for the video. If we were to write a contract as a resale, and you were the buyer, we're going to pay the title policy, we could choose which title company we wanted to use. But the builder has a relationship with that title company. They kind of get sweetheart deals for all the volume of closings they do. So what happens is you're paying for a title policy that the builder gets a bigger discount on, and you're working with a lender that the builder gets kickbacks from or owns part of. So be careful of those things when you're buying a home. It's kind of a shady thing. I get it, right? From a business standpoint, the more business pieces you have, the more revenue you can make. But it is something that you should be aware of, because it could end up costing you money or being a problem in the future. So keep an eye on that. One thing that I've seen a lot lately is just builders not communicating. Going kind of back to not wanting to use realtors. Number one, I've seen builders say, hey, realtors can't show up to inspections. They can't come up to walkthroughs. I've seen this, and that is crazy to me that a builder would say realtors couldn't be there with you. That's just going back to the fact they really don't want you to work with a realtor, because they save a lot of money by you not using a realtor. So if a builder's telling you that your realtor can't be at a certain event, that is a huge red flag. I would say, yes, my realtor needs to be here for me. So, and the other part of that is just communication. I've seen really, really bad communication over the last 2 years where they're just not communicating what's happening, and we're seeing longer and longer and longer delays. So be prepared to really stay on top of that builder for communication. I'm dealing with a deal right now in San Marcos where the builder will not respond to my emails, and we're trying to get an appraiser out there. It's not good for anybody when that happens. Here's another one that I see builders do quite frequently as well. When you go meet with a builder rep, you sign the contract, you're all excited. They actually have to send that to the upper management to sign off on. And sometimes it could take 2 weeks to get that contract back. So while you think you have a contract on a home, you're waiting for the builder to sign off on it. What I've seen happen is the builder kick it back and say, hey, no, we're raising prices $5,000. Now you got to take that $5,000 hit. That to me is insane when they do that. I've seen that quite a bit. The other thing that I see them do quite a bit is that they'll say that contract is sitting there. Meanwhile, they're selling other homes, and they might turn around and just sell your home to somebody else. I have seen that happen. I have a friend down in New Braunfels right now who's really upset because he had been taking clients to this builder, and they kept saying, okay, we're going to send out a contract next week. We'll send out a contract next week. Meanwhile, out of the 12 available units they had, they sold 10, which were in that $250 price point. And they said they sold them to friends and family. The last 2 they have available to sell to you now are $450,000. So when you thought you were going to be paying under $300, now you're in the $400s. That's something I've seen builders do. So they're very catty sometimes when it comes to signing a contract contract. Here's the thing, if you're gonna sign a contract, know that it does have to go to higher ups to sign off on. So even though you sign, you might not be fully under contract, even though you've already given deposit money and earnest money and all that, they'll hold on to that. Oh, and by the way, sometimes they take months to give you earnest money back if you have to terminate. They took 3 months to give me my earnest money back at Milestone. It was terrible. It was awful. They said, oh, we have up to 90 days to give you your money back. So be aware that even realtors, they try to mess around with. So I would recommend also going and just Googling things builders do. There are a few articles out there to take a look at, so I would definitely look at those before you get yourself into a new build. Jeremy Knight, the Knight Group, your favorite awesome realtor. What'd you think? Like, comment, subscribe. We'll see you in the next video.